We're walking down the driveway. I started planting in here the first summer that we moved in. This is all really rocky from the driveway gravel eventually making its way over to the berm here. So it's more of a dry garden, although there's all kinds of plants in here. Just anything we have extra of, any seedlings, kind of end up in here, but I'm trying to keep it, you know, pollinator friendly, hopefully natives when we can. Right now the chickens really love this area. However, we have predator problems, so I'm starting a fence, and I just had some wind fencing left over, so I've been putting that up to try to keep the fox on this side of the farm and the chickens on the other side until we can figure out a more permanent solution, which we already have a trap set up. Right there, that's the old milk shed, and we converted it into the chicken and duck house. It's right up close to the house, which is not great when you have a lot of chickens, but if you just have a couple, it's perfect. There's another entry into the woods behind this large machine shed. We call it the barn because the other one is down. You can see a lot of scrap lumber, haphazard compost bin in there, and a water container that we're currently not using. Eventually we'd like to someday have livestock in here. I think that would be really nice. The old milk shed and the fallen down barn, and you can kind of see it down in there. How cool that would be for a secret garden back in here. More wood chips. I've absolutely ignored my garden this year. With Emma being born, that's kind of taken priority, and so this is a major work in progress, and it's kind of a fail for this year. You can see we've lined the driveway with peach trees, crab apples, cherries, all kinds of stuff, and the deer have come up and just eaten them all. We're not out here very often, so they've really kind of taken over. A lot of weeds, mostly weeds. I did some hedging whips of privet, which a lot of people question privet as to, you know, being invasive. But here, if you keep it managed and under control, it shouldn't be a problem. I was able to get packs of 25 whips at a time, which was really helpful considering the amount of property we have here. So this is all gridded with these privet whips, and everything kind of leads to the big maple in the middle. I'd love to do hedging around that with evergreens, and yeah, have a little private area in there. That would be really nice. More perennial beds and our chicken hospital. We've had a lot of predator attacks this year. So we have one girl in there that survived a dog attack. We lost 5 chickens to that dog, and 2 chickens survived. And then we have one rooster that got in a fight, and he was pretty bad, but he's doing pretty well now. A line of ducks. Another hospital that isn't being used right now, but yeah, it looks a mess right now. We've just kind of been ignoring it this year. It's been really difficult to be out here. And there are a lot of things planted that are just taking their time because I bought them as little tiny whips. Some pretty large hydrangea hedging in here that will eventually be used for production. But right now you can't really see that. Here's Tammy Turkey. She's our only turkey. We hatched her from an egg, and we only had a couple eggs, and she was the only one that hatched. She's really sweet, very friendly. And whenever we're out here, she comes to hang out with us. Doesn't look like much, but this is filled with phlox and roses. There's echinacea and yarrow in here. that's all weeds in the background. But yeah, the grass, the weeds have all completely taken over this year. It's been really hard, and especially with a new baby. All right, we're leaving the perennial garden and we're going into the kitchen garden. This is right at the side of the house. Through here, the old owners had plowed this area for a long time. It has like at least a foot drop in soil just from being plowed over and over again, and they used this for years as a crop field just for their family. So their mom grew everything in here, but we're trying to regain the soil with compost and our wood chips and breaking things down over the years. This is Jerusalem artichoke, which is completely out of control. I don't even like it. We did get things in the ground. You can see there are tomatoes in here, and I tried to plant as many flowers as I could. I did start a bunch of annuals from seeds, so you can see it may look like weeds, but most of these are flowers. These are weeds. These are thistles that completely took over this area, but behind them you can see yarrow, comfrey back here, and then apple trees. And this vegetable garden is surrounded by apple, pear, and plum trees that will be espaliered. I haven't been able to do that yet, but it will be done at some point. There's a hummingbird over there. See the little hummingbird? The hummingbirds have really loved the comfrey this year. My tomatoes have really been terrible. The water, the pest pressure, everything has just been really difficult this year. I do have a lot in here, you know, they're coming along, but not anything like what I had last year. You can see there's stock planted in there, some bunny tail grass, just anything I had to kind of cover the ground up as much as I can. Kale is getting out of control. There was lettuce in here, but I think the chickens come in and they kind of get to it before I can. More kale. There's bloody dock. This was the spinach bed. Now it is winter squashes. I think there's butternut and maybe spaghetti squash in here, and then there's some nasturtium on the end. We have a lot of chives. It's looking kind of sad right now. There's my parsley, which looks really good. Arugula with a little silene in the front. I put my sweet peas on here and they never flowered, but they are growing really nicely, so I don't know. There's some green beans growing in here. And then these trellises do have, this one has a hardy kiwi, this one has grape, hardy kiwi. So eventually those should take over. We have herb beds on this side that are really outgrown, so this is thyme and oregano, and then I have Swiss chard and green beans, a hardy kiwi in there, more kale, and a whole lot of my basil for bouquets that I started, but I didn't do any bouquets this year, so came into the kitchen garden. Calendula, there's a rosemary in there, some peppers, sage, lots and lots of sage, basil, and a grape. Late cauliflowers, I don't know how they'll do. Broccoli. This is peppers, eggplants, and sunflowers, and it's been really hard to keep the grasses out. Oh, and that's bronze fennel. Artichokes that are taken over by weeds. Some cabbages at the end and some Brussels sprouts that are tiny. Strawberries and a really sick apple tree. More apples that are just falling over because I don't have the proper fencing up. And then this field behind here will eventually be potatoes, and any kind of large crop that takes all summer, those will be in there. This is the berry garden, and we have a driveway up to our neighbor's barn. There are tons and tons of bushes in here planted, and we're just mulching now. And in the next couple of years, that's gonna grow up to be really awesome and hopefully fruitful. In the winter, the wind just absolutely tunnels through here, and it's pretty damaging. This is hedged in here by lilac whips. They're super small, but you know, they're doing okay. Here's an example of one of our rows. These are raspberries. So you can see they're just small raspberry canes. A lot of them were transplanted from another area that I decided to take over for expanding the kitchen garden. So they've been set back this year. They were fruiting and we moved them kind of last minute. So obviously don't expect any fruits this year, but next year hopefully we'll get something. And obviously we have a ton of mulch. We have a agreement with somebody in town who does arbor work to come drop chips here when they have a truckload. So they do that quite a bit, and yeah, so this was full of chips, and I moved a bunch with my neighbor's tractor. Thankfully he let us borrow it, and it's obviously still a work in progress, and eventually I think I'd like to have blueberries along here. This is the old garage. It's a one-car garage, and actually the slab looks really good on it. It just obviously through the years has gotten a lot of damage from the trees, and just not in a great location. But I'd like to eventually turn it into a greenhouse, I think, or at least a potting shed, and have a greenhouse attached. I think that would be really cool. It's pretty far away from our water, so you know, that's maybe a negative. There's the cornfield. That's not our property, but there's plenty in there. That's the trail into the wooded area. There's about 4 acres, I think, of just complete woods. Right at that entry, there's a creek that goes along the field into a larger creek on the other side of the property, and then there is a pond in there. Here are some more wood chips. And then right here is an old barn that fell before I bought the place. So I was hoping to reclaim a bunch of the wood because it's, you know, at least 100 years old, probably 150. It'd be nice to reuse that wood, but I think it's been down too long. The bottom is all fieldstone, and I'd love to convert it into, I don't know, some kind of menagerie or something at some point, or secret garden.